Oh man, I remember having issues with this the last time. Yeah, that's a bit too small. That might be okay. And if I point you up here, maybe. Although that might lighten might be strange. And that's connected. We're laughing. Yeah, no. It's rare that I record these things, as I'm sure you're aware, and it's even rare that I have it on me in the gym. I used to think about getting regular gym videos with this camera, but when I go in, I'm just mobbed. Even on my own normal training days, and the gym does be busy, and there's enough tripods going around. Never mind some lad just trying to talk into one. It's just very messy. Oh, and I get abused for trying to use this thing as well. What do they call it? The toothbrush. They call it the toothbrush among other things, and the toothbrush is the nicest name that you hear about it. Good old training session, 2 weeks left in this cut, just back in training after the May Open in Belfast. Knackered, I have to say, knackered. But I had some thoughts kind of running around in my head because I had a lot of people competing in May, and the team had a lot of people competing in May. And the thought kind of occurred to me, was like, what are we going to do now? You know, especially a lot of people put competitions on pedestals these days, which I really don't agree with, because they should be normal. They should be not something that you hype up and get really nervous or anxious about. And I think putting them on a pedestal only diminishes how repeatable they are, and maybe diminishes your performance as well, because you have a lot of performance anxiety coming into it. But when you build something up so much, it can be like, geez, a real what now? And your post-comp blues is a very common thing. And to combat that, and in a more general sense, what I often get people to do after a competition is to do something totally different, something that presents a novel, kind of fresh challenge, and that you can't kind of draw parallels to your competition block leading into your competition. Because you might find, like, well, I was hitting singles at 8 at this weight coming into competition, and now I can't even do remotely that, and that's generally not great for your mental. Now, from what I've seen, and if something is different enough, you don't care, or you're just unaware as to how your strength is, you know. So that can look like essentially an extended pivot, you know. If it's a block, it can be very novel movements, a different like tempo, a different rep range, a different intensity. It can be different energy systems, different kind of fitness characteristics, whatever you want, and then you can kind of ease back into a more typical developmental block then afterwards. We often talk about the explore versus exploit kind of hypothesis in terms of making good decisions. And after a competition is like the perfect time to explore and to try new options, even if it is outside of the weight room, you know. It's that time where you can relax and take a step back, and especially if you're very mentally fried, never mind physically fried, it can be nice to kind of take a step back and kind of guard that flame that is your motivation, and let it just kind of simmer away and build again. You don't want to burn out, quite literally, like, you know. For me, that often looked like getting into more cardio stuff, or especially if it's in during the summer, like getting outside more for hiking or for playing golf or meeting people out for drinks or whatever. So you can look at it on a load of different levels, and we go into this in one of our most recent podcasts on the Odyssey podcast. I'll try and throw a link in this if I get to post it, you know. Especially when the weather's like this. Come on now, you'd be a fool to spend it in the gym the whole time, like back to work straight away. Like, you're a human being, you know, and there's more to life than the gym. Because if you find that something happens, you get hurt, or you just can't train anymore, and you spent your last 10, 15, 20 years doing nothing but powerlifting, God, that might be a bit rough. Do you know, it's nice to have other aspects of your life developed, you know. And it's great to try new things, and they could aid in your lifting, whatever, but there's a lot you can do, and the less familiar I think you can be, the better.